This councilman is encouraging businesses to come to his city. Let's find out why. Up next on the Giblin Report. Welcome to the Giblin Report. I'm Assemblyman Tom Giblin, representing the 34th District, which includes Clifton, East Orange, Montclair, and Orange. Joining me today is Councilman Matt Grabowski of Clifton, New Jersey. Welcome, Councilman.
Assemblyman, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You've been a lifelong resident of Clifton. You made a decision a couple of years to pursue public office.
True.
What prompted you to kind of get into the political business?
Oh, it's a long story, but I think what happened was I was always involved with the city of Clifton. My family was raised to always be very involved in town events and community involvement. I was told, why would I say told, but I was offered the position to head up the Athenian Business Association, to resurrect it approximately 10 years ago. I think the good job that I've done for the city and the community prompted people to reach out to me and say, you know, you should really consider running for city council. Your heart is in Clifton. We see the good work you're doing, and you could probably do better work as an elected official. I thought about it for, you know, maybe 1 or 2 years, and then sure enough, something just kicked me one day and said, you know what, let's do this, and we did, and I did. Do
you find the job of council member in Clifton more than you bargained for in terms of time commitment? I know there's a lot of work in terms of the government, then I think that people tug at you for, you know, coming to their activities and events.
Yeah, you know what, it's interesting because the level of councilman has responsibilities. We implement policies in the city of Clifton where many people think we're responsible for when it rains and snows, and that's not necessarily true. So it does have its, as good as it is, as bad as it is. I wish I could solve the problems that many people come to us with, but it's just not in our privy to do so. But it is time consuming, there's no question.
You know, for the benefit of our viewers, tell us a little bit about Clifton itself, you know, approximate size, and the diversity is beyond belief as compared to any municipality I know in terms of ethnic and racial background. You want to?
That's true. We're one of the most diverse cities in the state of New Jersey. We have approximately, consensus is about 84,000 people. I believe we're about 11.1 square miles. It's a large city, and Clifton's unique because it's almost like a hub, where many things surround Clifton. You know, a lot of your, as you're familiar, the towns, Montclair, your minutes to New York City, Nutley, Little Falls, Passaic, Patterson. It's a very big city.
Even with the high school, it's probably one of the largest high schools in the state, right? I guess that attributes to a lot of the success you have in sports activities.
Well, that's true. Clifton High School is one of the largest. I mean, when I graduated in the 70s, late 70s, we had 3 wings and there was over 3,000 kids in the school at that time.
And now it's probably that much higher, right?
I know they added another wing to it. I don't know because of the special groups and classrooms if the number went up, but it's a large high school.
What's you know, some of the aspects you like as far as being a councilman? I mean, you know, it's the meetings, you know, getting to meet different constituencies.
I think being a councilman, I like being able to answer the will of the people. I like being able to make a difference, and that's the reason I ran. And that's the reason I was encouraged to run, because it seems that when you follow your heart and you follow what you believe in, and you see the outcome of those efforts, it's self-rewarding. You know, you feel good about helping another person in life, because I think that's what we're all really here for, is to help each other.
You kind of bring a different perspective, you know, to public office. I believe you're a licensed real estate broker?
Yes, yes, I'm a licensed.
And what's the name of your company?
Castle Realty Group.
Okay, so you kind of see the comings and goings, so to speak, of new people coming in the city, perhaps retirees moving out, some of the activity with business, either small business or big business. Has that perspective helped you in terms of, you know, looking at, you know, the long-range futures of Clifton?
Well, you're right. It gives you a different perspective on it that, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, that other council members may not have, because I interact with the people who are moving in and moving out, and I sit in their homes with them every day, and I know the reasons and the elements of why they would want to come in and why the reasons they would want to come out. I'm not going to necessarily address those right now, but it helps you in making decisions and what policies matter. As far as involvement in Clifton, I've been in a private sector business owner since I can remember. You know, we were raised in a business family, and we were encouraged by our parents to be entrepreneurial in spirit. Actually, my first little business was when I was 25 years old. I bought an ice cream candy store on Main Ave in Clifton, okay. And then continued. I've probably had a half a dozen businesses. So my key focus is on business because business gives jobs to people.
Looking at Clifton, we're talking to many people who are not Clifton residents. There's a lot of different neighborhoods. Maybe you could tell us about some of the neighborhoods in Clifton, and then maybe get into the issue about small business in those neighborhoods. Maybe just give us the, the major neighborhoods.
Well, I mean, you have historic botany section is well known in Clifton. You have the Athenia section, you have the Allwood section, the Richfield section, Lakeview, Delawana. And most of those have their own business districts. You have the Main Ave district, and each one, some are called, what you're familiar with, called a SID, Special Improvement Districts, that collect additional tax revenues to help fund that. Ours is probably one of the few districts, Athenia Business, that doesn't subscribe to the SID program or mentality, I should say. I have a different philosophy about that. But each district in Clifton really has its own unique diversity in it and people in it, and I think...
And they all seem to be thriving. That's the amazing thing. Like, in other words, the stores and the cleanliness, yeah, and the whole ambiance of the different neighborhoods. They all have their own character, I guess it's a good way of calling it.
That's true. That's true. That actually is a good word. That's a real good word. They have their own character, and I think that what makes up Clifton, it really gives itself its own character in itself and brings a lot to the table for people to come into Clifton.
So, like, in your role as a council member, or even a citizen for a number of years, what do you do to kind of, keep these small businesses viable, try to get new people in, try to look at safety? I mean, it seems like it's, with the different activities of the town, you seem to be doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it, you try to help their interests of what would make a difference. And a perfect example would be when I got elected, there was always an outcry, I thought, where our sign ordinance was a little bit, I thought, a little under-parred. We didn't allow certain signage that other towns did. And the bigger corporations in all towns, not just Clifton, are able to put up the signage because they're able to pay the fine that goes along with it, and it's not going to affect them. But the little guy never had that opportunity. If he put up a little A-frame sign or he put up these little banner signs, he was discouraged because they weren't allowed to do it. So I'm proud to say I spearheaded with the Chamber of Commerce and Gloria Martini to rescind that ordinance, giving tools to the small businesses to gain more exposure, just give them more avenues to prosper, especially in these economic times.
Yeah, public safety is probably a big component in terms of making people feel safe. I mean, I know going back maybe before your tenure, there was some cutbacks in the police and fire department. Have they been kind of brought back up to par? I know you're fighting budget woes.
Yeah, well, that 2% cap didn't help us, but I'm happy to say that the city has a new city manager, Matt Watkins, who's been a strong advocate for services, and that's been a plus for my point of view. We're constantly looking for ways to increase the TO, to bring the table of organization back up to what it should be. I believe we've hired this year about 12 new police officers, which is a plus for the city, and I think the city manager has plans on hiring more in the coming year. I know we just passed a bill to allow for 2 more sergeants. When it comes, Assemblyman, when it comes to safety, if I could wave a wand, I'd have 2 more 100 police on the streets in the city of Clifton. I mean, safety is paramount. Without safety, what are your other programs worth if the people's safety is not at first at hand?
It's an important element. We just went through Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how it impacted Clifton, with the Public Works Department. Was there problems with trees? I mean, what's it done to the budget? I mean, do you have any insight as far as that's concerned?
Well, I mean, on the last storm we had, FEMA's been very good at reimbursing. So I'm not so much as concerned about what our output was, because I know we'll pretty much get 80% of that back. But yeah, Clifton got hit pretty hard. There was a lot of sections that were out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But the city was I mean, truthfully, Clifton did fairly well. The only thing that I did was I stopped along when the public service guys happened to be in what's called the staging area. Yeah. And I went up to the fellow, just introduced myself and asked if there's anything I could be of help or to just give me information so I could go back to some of the people to inform them. Many people would see these utility workers out there and just sitting and then complaining and acting like they're doing nothing.
Well, I guess some of those people could have been out-of-state folks too, right?
Well, the one fellow, when I spoke with him, there was 4 public service trucks there, and he looked at me and he said, "You see that fellow sitting in that truck over there?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "He's from Sussex, and a tree fell on this fella's house, and his wife and children are without power, and he's here working." And these guys need to be commended because they're only doing what they're told. And people were screaming and yelling at these public service guys every time they walked into a store to get a bagel or something to eat, like it's their fault. And it's not true. It wasn't their fault. They did an outstanding job. The Clifton Police Department, the Fire Department, the DPW really rose to the occasion, and then some. They should be commended.
You're really kind of going through a big change now with the decision by Hoffman Roach.
Yes.
To phase out their operation in Clifton. That was a big employer, right? And then, of course, it's a big rateable, and I'm sure heads are getting together in terms of trying to look at what makes sense as far as coming to that site. What's really happening with that? I mean, and how's the phase out going? I mean, when is it going to be complete? About another year and a half?
Yeah, I think it's about a year or so that it'll be closed down. And I don't want to go into too many particulars. I don't know if I'm allowed from what I know, but I do know that that site is obviously prime real estate. And what's most important is the relationship between Nutley and Clifton, because whatever goes there is going to affect the traffic impact on Nutley and Clifton tremendously. And I think for that location...
What is it, about 1/3 Nutley and 2/3 Clifton, or half and half, somewhere like that?
More in Nutley.
It's more in Nutley, okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, we need to have a meeting. Yeah, we need to have a meeting of the minds there, because in my opinion, we can't afford another box store scenario. It'll just cripple the traffic. We need an application that rises to the occasion. We need something that's going to make a difference, and that's going to call for a number of discussions between Nutley and Clifton. But we're hopeful that the outcome is going to be in our best interest.
Speaking about traffic,